Hello, Screen Demons, and welcome to the Screens from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey.
This is a bi-weekly horror podcast in which two horror fans discuss all things horror, including news, recent watches, horror collectables, and more.
I am one of those leps in the hood. I am Casey.
And I'm Sam.
And let's
get screaming. Screaming, are we?
We're going to get the little screaming. I can't do a very good Irish accent. You do it
Not
much
me
better.
either.
Yeah, yours is much better than mine.
It's still not good.
This is our St. Patty's Day themed episode as I knock my water bottle over onto everything. We're good. We're still live.
Hey,
we're here.
It's St. Patty's. That shouldn't be water.
I have a Diet Pepsi. I guess that's as close as I'm going to get. I'm sure the Irish drink that too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But this is
any Irish fans, sound off in the comments. Do you drink? Do you drink Diet Pepsi?
I know you don't drink water. Any Irish people don't drink water. It's only Guinness. That's all they drink. But do you drink Diet Pepsi? That's another question. So this is our St. Patty's Day themed episode. I see both of us are wearing green for this. Whether we planned that or not. Yeah, I think we probably
did. We planned it. We even changed our logo and our fonts to green.
Yes.
Just specifically for this episode.
Just for this episode here. As we're talking Leprechaun in the Hood and its sequel, Leprechaun Back to the Hood. The Hood. Yeah.
The Hood. The Minnesotan Hood.
The Minnesotan Hood. We're talking both Leprechaun in the Hood movies on today's episode. We got a pretty fun episode planned for today. These are two not very good movies, but two movies we had an absolute blast watching together.
Yes. We did. We had a good night. We had a good night watching these, and another movie that we'll talk about. But yeah, these movies are fun in the right context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess. In the context of, hey, let's watch these two terrible movies so we can talk about them on a podcast. Yes, these are fun movies to talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
And watch.
Not much to talk about. This might be a short episode, people, but
yeah, but before we get to that, we teased on our social media channels as we're dropping this episode right here on. I mean, if you're listening to this audio wise on when we drop those on the audio platforms, oh my God, Sam just like lit on fire.
Yeah, that was bright.
So for audio only listeners, please go to our YouTube or Facebook to watch Sam like burst into flames.
Yeah, my skin is really pink. I'm warm.
Yeah, you like spontaneously combusted like one of the drummers on Spinal Tap. Like, that scared me for a second.
Yeah, I do that from time to time. I do that. Oh, if the rapture happens, I'm one of the last to go.
I thought you were one of the first ones to go, and I was like, okay, well, I'm next, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose. Man, if I'm the first one to go, our world is full of bad people.
No, Sam, you are a saint. You are a saint, much like Mr. St. Patrick. But before we get to our St. Patty's Day talk, like I said, we tease this on our social media. We're talking about we have one piece of news we want to talk about here right at the top of the show that was kind of groundbreaking news for the world of horror this week, and it just dropped today. If you're watching it live with us, that is the news of Scream 6. Not Scream 6, excuse me, Scream 7 is happening. It's going to happen with Neve Campbell back as Sidney Prescott in the lead of this movie with Kevin Williamson directing. Kevin Williamson, who wrote Scream 1, 2, and 4. He is the creator of this franchise right alongside Wes Craven, and he's back to not only produce this like he did the last couple, but he's back on board in the director's seat for this one for the first time ever in this franchise. Sam, let's get into a little bit of the controversy first and kind of lay the groundwork of what happened. I know we talked about this on the show before. We talked about the Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega news of they weren't going to be in Scream 6. I remember we had speculated that when that happened, this movie's just not going to happen, and that they should put this to rest for a while and maybe revisit it down the road. Here we are eating our words because this is happening and it's going to go in production. There's a script already. Nev is in it. I assume Courtney Cox will probably be in this one as well.
I would assume so. I mean, she hasn't missed one yet, so why would she start now? You know.
So the big hubbub was about the firing of Melissa Barrera from Scream 7 and the scheduling conflicts of Jenna Ortega for shooting this movie. You can read between the lines of scheduling conflicts versus standing up for her fellow actress and showing solidarity with her and not.
That always felt like an excuse to me.
It felt like the studio saying that more than anyone else.
Yeah, like as far as I know, Jenna Ortega actually has not spoken on it at all.
Yeah, I don't think so. Not that I've seen.
So, yeah. So obviously, I mean, we're talking about this. We're both very excited for this movie. I do think that it comes with a little bit of a like, kind of, you know what I mean? Like I saw the news and I mean, I texted you right away. I was like, dude, like I have chills right now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But immediately after the initial excitement of holy crap, we're getting a Kevin Williamson directed Scream starring Nev Campbell. It was just that like, I can love this news while not loving the process that led to this news.
No, you can't, right? Sam. You can only pick one side or the other. There is no in between. You can't be a human being who's excited and disappointed at the same time. Not allowed.
Yeah, right. Like that's not allowed in the World Wide Web, at least.
No.
I'm not boycotting Scream 7.
Here's the thing.
If you want to boycott, I think that's fine. Boycott for the right reasons, though. Like, I don't know.
Here's the thing. You can go watch, and the hubbub I've seen online is, oh, well, if you're going to go watch Scream 7, make sure you go watch Abigail, starring Melissa Barrera, next month. Well, it's like, yeah, I was going to do that anyway, but I'm also pretty excited about Scream 7 happening with Nev Campbell. Yeah, so my take is this, is that, like I said, we're going back on our word of like, this should take a break for a little while and maybe be put on ice, and a few years down the road, we revisit it. Well, that few years.
And we might eat these words if Scream 7 comes out and it's a total stinker. Like, we reserve the right to eat our words.
We could. And maybe something happens with this movie where it doesn't even happen with Nev and Kevin Williamson. Yeah. That's a very distinct possibility with how the franchise has gone in the last year. I was
about to say, I mean, we had stars and a director attached previously and it fell through. So it's kind of this increasing, in the current movie landscape, there's this increasing feeling that I get of, I'm not going to believe a movie is being released until I have seen it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. That goes to another Jenna Ortega movie coming out later this year, supposedly. I guess Beetlejuice.
Supposedly,
yeah. We're the skeptics that are like, they shot like a Toyota commercial, but it's with Beetlejuice and Michael Keaton and Winona.
I've been burned too many times on this Beetlejuice too.
But for this movie, I'm very excited about this news. I think it's, again, is it bittersweet? Yes, because of the situation that happened with Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega. Like, yeah, that sucks. And we said that when that happened, that sucks. It just was not the right call on the studio's end. And it's a shame that, the Radio Silence guys and who was the original? It was
Christopher Landon.
Christopher Landon
was going to be directing it.
Was going to be directing it, and obviously this is going to be a very different movie than that was going to be.
It does look like the same screenwriters are back for Scream 7, though.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, on the script page, it was the same. It was the same three guys that had done the story by and screenplay by in the last few. So, I think
is it the radio?
I'm pretty sure. I think it's still the Radio Silence. I don't know if the Radio Silence guys wrote the last few. I think they might, or I don't know.
Did they not
in Radio Silence?
Let me look. It's not those guys. No. Story by James Vanderbilt. He's done a bunch of stuff. Guy Busick. I don't know if he wrote the other ones. I could be wrong.
Yeah, James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick did Scream 6, and I'm guessing Scream 5 too. Let me look. I don't want to be one of those people.
I want to say Radio Silence did that. We'll double check though.
Still Vanderbilt and Guy Busick, which maybe they are part of the Radio Silence.
They're not.
Like, no? Okay. No. I don't know who Radio Silence is.
It's Matt. I'm trying to remember there's 3 guys.
Matt and Tyler, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a producer.
There's a 3rd one that's with them all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, they went to do Abigail instead of this. Like they went off to do that.
That movie looks incredible.
It does.
And we've said it on the cast. Like, we'll be there opening weekend.
We'll be there opening weekend for that. We'll be there opening weekend for Scream 7. People need to calm down on the internet. You don't need to boycott this movie because of what happened previously. It sucks. It's not a good situation. But you can be excited that Nev is coming back, which, again, 2 years ago when Scream 6 was in production and there was the whole hubbub of Nev's not coming back because the studio won't pay her rightfully what she deserves as the star of this franchise. And now here we are 2 years later, and it's finally happening. And I see the internet up in an uproar over this, and it's just dumb. It's just dumb. You can be happy about all this stuff and feel the disappointment of what happened with the previous situation with whatever version of Scream 7 was going to happen before this. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for this. I'm going to leave us off with a question to make it fun. We're not going to focus on the bad things.
Before you leave it off with your question, I just want to say one thing. I hate you, Spyglass, but also I'll be first in line for Scream 7, so screw you guys. Extra. Yeah.
And we were there when Thanksgiving came out too. Like,
we were. And like, that's the thing. People were talking about boycott Thanksgiving, and that movie was still extremely successful. Scream 7 is still going to be extremely successful. Like,
if anything, go support the creators, even if you don't agree with the studio behind it.
Right. Like, it's still cool that Kevin Williamson is finally getting a chance to direct a feature in the franchise that he literally created.
Yeah.
You know, like this all started with him
writing
at a keyboard. Yeah. Like,
not the movie that eventually was made called Scary Movie, the original title of the screenplay, Scary Movie.
Yeah, which then, you know,
turned into Scream and
Scary Movie.
So the question I'm going to leave us both off on.
Okay.
Scream 7. It's happening. Neve Campbell's back. I assume Courtney Cox is back.
Yep.
Kevin Williamson's directing. What's the direction they go with this?
They go to a graveyard to make sure Dewey is dead, and Neve sticks a fence post through him during a lightning storm.
Okay.
And lightning hits, and Dewey comes back to life.
And we get another.
Dewey. Yeah. And we get Lisa Frankenstein meets Scream.
Okay.
with Dewey as an reanimated corpse helping them catch Ghostface, who is a reanimated Stu Macher.
Okay. All right. But he has a giant TV for a head.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Ghostface mask in the hood is like squared out.
Yeah. Or it's the Ghostface mask inside the TV, and it's like. Yeah.
He's like popping out like it's 3D.
Uh-huh. He's like the girl from The Ring. I'm just coming out, but it's Ghostface.
Yeah. That's my pitch.
I think here we are, Scream 7. Just give the people what they want at this point. You pissed off a lot of fans. Bring back Matthew Lillard, and let's kind of round out the Sidney Prescott story finally with this one. Finish her story off, have her and Courtney Cox together, make it go full circle, because I think that's the last horror trope the franchise has not touched on yet, is that, well, the killer always comes back. Something they reference in the first movie, but have not done in terms of bringing back the same killer. And I think it's time that we do that.
Yep.
But if it's your Lisa Frankenstein version, we both win. So I think that should happen. So people out there listening, let us know your thoughts on this Scream 7 news and pitch us your idea for where the franchise should go for this sequel. What's your fantasy booking of Scream 7?
Yeah. Who do you want to be Ghostface? If it's not Stu, which actor would you want to see play Ghostface?
Yeah, Austin Butler.
Ooh, he would be a good Ghostface.
Yeah, I don't know. Just throwing that out there.
Emma Stone.
Both of them.
Yes, Austin Butler and Emma Stone giving Oscar-worthy performances as Ghostface killers.
And they kill people with Oscars.
Yes.
Yeah. Book
we
it,
should
Hollywood.
be writing these.
We should.
Kevin, hit us up. We'll
Move
do a
over,
rewrite
James.
on the script.
Move over, James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick. We're coming in. Anyway.
No, wait, it doesn't work because they're not radio silence. I keep forgetting that. I was like, we're television noisy. Yeah, loudness.
All right, well, that's the news. That's the news we got to talk about.
Yeah. There's probably other stuff that just got missed because of this massive bomb that got dropped on us today. It's the only thing we're going to talk about.
Yeah. All right, let's end the episode.
Yep. Bye.
See ya.
Oh,
we
didn't lose any viewers.
Let's move on to our main topic then for this episode. You saw the title, you clicked on this episode. You're watching because you want to hear us talk about Leprechaun in the Hood and Leprechaun Back to the Hood.
Yep.
Let's get into this. Let's kick things off with I guess our history with this green little bastard, Leprechaun. Yeah. What's your history with Warwick Davis and Leprechaun?
So here's the thing. One of these movies that we are talking about today, Leprechaun Back to the Hood, was I think it was the first like adult horror movie I had ever seen in my life at the time I watched it. I was like maybe 6th grade or something. Went over to a friend's house for his birthday party and he had rented 2 movies. One was Leprechaun Back to the Hood and the other was Freddy vs. Jason. Both of those movies scared the living hell out of me that night. I watched Leprechaun Back to the Hood through an Afghan, just like through the little yarn holes, because I was terrified. It freaked me out so much.
You were probably what, 9, 10 years old?
Yeah, I think I was like 10.
Because both of these came out in 2003.
Yeah, so I would have been 10. I would have been 10. And I just, it terrified me. It scared the crap out of me. And now I watch both of those movies and I just laugh at like the idea that I was like 10 years old hiding behind a blanket at either of these movies, which to me now are more, I mean, Leprechaun Back to the Hood especially is more horror comedy horror than anything.
Oh, I can still see the horror in that one of like why you would have been scared.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. Yeah.
It's got some moments. But yeah, and so the Leprechaun series is one that I've always had kind of a special place in my heart, and they're always streaming somewhere. So like I've kind of
not
always, but well, and I've also owned them for the last like 4 years. So like every time St. Patty's rolls around, I watch one of them. The one I've probably watched the most is Back to the Hood. But like all of them are pretty terrible, but like kind of guilty pleasures for me. It's just, I look forward to March when I usually just watch one Leprechaun movie. We'll talk. This month this March, I'm literally going to have seen 4 Leprechaun movies by the end of it. Maybe even more if I really feel like it.
If you feel lucky, yeah.
If I feel lucky, yeah. So I don't know. I really love this series in a way that's acknowledges that it's not very good. They're not very good movies. None of them to me go above like 3 stars really. But I also just, I don't know, there's a little bit of a nostalgia and a soft spot for them. How about you? What was your first Leprechaun movie and what's your history with it?
So, I mean, I think I say this whenever we talk about any horror franchise on here. I had this period of time where I watched like all the 4-packs of the big slasher series.
Yeah.
And so finally we got around to Leprechaun at one point. And I remember, I'm pretty sure these were the first 2 we watched. And it might have just been that that was what was on Netflix or whatever we could find at Walmart, whatever the case was. I'm pretty sure it was these 2. And then we watched the first one. But it was only until recently that I watched the entire Leprechaun series. I bought the like big Blu-ray pack because one St. Patrick's Day weekend, me and Kayla wanted to watch these, and they just weren't anywhere streaming. So we're like, we're gonna run to Walmart. Sure enough, they didn't have any either. So we didn't get to watch any Leprechaun movie for St. Patrick's Day that year. So I made it a point to find them at last stop. And sure enough, now I own every single Leprechaun movie. Lucky me.
Lucky you.
I've watched them all now, besides the WWE Studios one, which is the one without Warwick Davis, Leprechaun Origins. That's the one I have not seen.
Is Leprechaun, because there's two of them.
Yeah.
There's Leprechaun Origins, and then there's Leprechaun Returns. I thought Leprechaun Origins still have him, or
no? Leprechaun Origins has the WWE wrestler Hornswoggle as Leprechaun. Yeah.
Okay.
The Leprechaun Returns, I believe, was a Sci-Fi Channel original.
It was, yes.
From the guy who made The Void.
Yep.
And it was a direct sequel to the original Leprechaun.
Yeah.
With an actress.
Lyndon Porco is the Leprechaun in that one.
Yeah, with an actress playing Jennifer Aniston's daughter in it.
Yeah, that's right. I actually like this one. I actually like that one quite a bit. That actually might be the best one.
It's definitely the best one.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I've watched all the Warwick Davis ones, the ones that people think of and recognize, and the one that has the cult following behind it. But Leprechaun in the Hood is an interesting movie in that this franchise just goes in all different directions from the start. Because the first movie is in North Dakota, like rural North Dakota, out in the middle of nowhere. Second movie's in LA.
Yep.
Third movie's in Vegas. Fourth one, he goes to space. And these two, he goes to the hood. It's the most time he spends in any one geographical location is these two movies.
Am I correct in that the first one identifies the hood as Compton, right?
Yes.
Like it's set in Compton, yeah.
Yep. And I don't remember. Does it say where Back to the Hood is?
I don't think it ever says a specific city. I'm just going to assume that it's still Compton.
I'm gonna assume it's at least LA.
Yeah.
But
it's somewhere cheap, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. And that's why I'm gonna assume it's LA. That's where the studios, the cheap sets that they could find for this movie were at.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into this movie, Leprechaun in the Hood, straight to video in 2000. I wrote up a little synopsis of this dumb movie. Synopsis is this: Afro Ice-T, who is also co-lead alongside Warwick Davis, finds the hidden layer of the Leprechaun and steals his flute, his magical golden flute that's just introduced in this movie. And
doesn't return in any of the sequels.
It does not. It does not. And he finds the stone version of the Leprechaun because Leprechaun is wearing that
medallion,
ruby medallion. That basically is like the Leprechaun's kryptonite. And if he wears it, he turns to stone.
He turns to stone.
And a rap group led by Postmaster P, that's our main character for this movie, steals the flute and gold medallion, unleashing the evil Leprechaun in the hood of Compton. There's also a Coolio cameo.
Yep. I think you got it all. Oh, and Leprechaun raps at the end. What is there to say about this movie?
We'll get to that to the rap at the end of this movie. Directed by Rob Spara and written by John Huffman and Doug Hall. Leprechaun in the Hood. What a movie! Like Ice-T just had a 2-month break from shooting Law and Order and was like, I'm gonna go make this straight to video Leprechaun movie.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't even think he had 2 months off for this.
2 weeks off, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I think I even told you about halfway through when we were watching this, I'm like, if we start watching like the behind the scenes and they were like, yeah, we had 3 days and 1 digital camera to just shoot this in sequence, I would have totally believed you. because it just, yeah, this movie is
cheapest.
the epitome of cheap straight to DVD horror.
Yeah, this is definitely the cheapest looking Leprechaun movie for sure.
Which is that's a high bar. That's
yeah. I mean, all of them are very low budget. I want to say the first one is the only one that was theatrical. I could be wrong, but I think it's the only one that was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right.
But it also has, I would argue, the biggest name alongside Warwick Davis in the franchise, because Jennifer Aniston was an unknown. That was her first, the first thing she ever did. It was before Friends. And Ice-T at this time was already on Law and Order. So he was a big TV star, obviously a well-known rap artist.
Right.
And yeah, that's obviously the selling point, is that you want to see Ice-T in this movie with Leprechaun. Unfortunately, what you get is, like you said, just cheap-looking sets.
Mm-hmm.
Hardly any camera movement, because they had 3 days to shoot this movie and had to just, hey, we got one take. We're going to set the camera down on a tripod, just walk into frame and let's shoot it.
Yep. By the way, Leprechaun 2 actually was a theatrical release.
Okay, so
it just grossed such little money that it sent the rest of them into direct-to-video hell.
Probably where he belongs.
Yes. I mean, Leprechaun's a good direct-to-video franchise. It just,
yes,
it's what you need from a direct-to-video franchise.
Especially in the 90s, early 2000s, where it was still like, you can make some money on these direct-to-video.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So, what really, like, I can get over the cheapness of the movie, because I'm used to it. You're used to it.
Yeah.
I watch full moon movies. We both watch we watch garbage. We watch a lot of garbage. We're used to it. And the Leprechaun series is no different than any other garbage movies. What?
Right. I was like, we're two guys who literally waxed poetic about the first 3 Children of the Corn movies.
Yes, exactly. And only one of those got a theatrical release.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're no stranger to it. But what drives me insane about this movie is the tonal inconsistency of it. Because you watch a movie called Leprechaun in the Hood, you know that the first 4 before this were all horror comedies already. You see Ice-T on the poster. You're like, okay, I'm in for just a fun time of Leprechaun just killing a bunch of people in the hood, making bad puns, and probably rapping. You know that going into the title. Leprechaun is going to rap. It does deliver on that. What it also gives is this John Singleton wannabe vibe of like, we're going to tell this rags to riches story of this terrible rap group who has no rhythm or rhyme to them at all.
With raps that were clearly written by a bunch of white dudes in button-up shirts.
And all the raps are like, hey, let's be good people and be good to each other, which is fine. That's a good message. But guys, you clearly know that's not going to work.
It's really funny. And even their like the riches part of the rags to riches story, they play a show in the same club that they've been auditioning at the entire movie.
Yeah.
But there's like 10 people in there that clap at the end, so that's considered a success. And I'm like, what's our metric for...
They're going to go to a like rap competition in Vegas is what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And the only way... It's a very kind of convoluted plot, because they like destroy their equipment while doing an audition in the city in Compton.
It like blows up.
And it literally explodes, and they go flying off the stage like it's a Michael Bay movie. It's so funny. But it's played really straight. Funny.
It's played very straight. It's played like this is the worst thing that could have possibly happened to them.
And then later in the movie, when they're going to steal... So these 3 guys, they're part of this rap group. They meet Ice-T, who has now become rich and famous by using this flute that basically controls people's minds and lets them believe like whatever you're thinking can come true. And these guys basically are like, hey, we're going to go interview with this guy. He hates them because I would too. They were awful. I wouldn't sign them to my record label if I had one. But they're like, let's go rob this guy because he has this medallion on this on this leprechaun statue that looks like it might be worth some money and that he definitely stole it. It's like break into Ice-T's house, aka this set, and they ransack it, and it becomes like super serious because our main character, Postmaster P, finds Ice-T's gun and just shoots him on accident, and it's played like as this like big dramatic moment of like, oh my god, I can't believe he did that. Like this is he's a good guy with a heart of gold, but now his strive to become rich and famous has led him to kill someone, even though Ice-T survives. But
yeah, this is so hard. This is trying so hard to be a Spike Lee, or like you said, a John Singleton movie. That's about,
you made Leprechaun in the Hood.
Yeah, and I'm just like, there are so many scenes in this movie where that like how goofy and fun this movie could be pokes through, which almost makes the rest of it even more frustrating. Like I would have almost it just been a straight up low budget rags to riches story, but then they just throw this like it feels like it's a different script that they just decided to make a Leprechaun movie out of.
Yeah. Here's this generic
fixing tone at all.
Here's this generic like rags to riches story of this rap group who's trying to make it big, and they fall on hard times because they accidentally kill the record label guy, and now they have to go on the run, type of thing. I get that, but then they're like, well, let's take that and introduce Leprechaun to it.
And the thing
is like, they don't change the tone from that at all, because the most egregious scene for me is like, I don't know, halfway through the movie, we get one of the characters has a gun pointed at Leprechaun, and Leprechaun mind controls him using magic. It's very undefined magic throughout this entire series of how it works and when it works and why it works. He makes the guy, bring the gun up to his head, and it cuts to black, and you hear the trigger pulled, and the next thing he's dead, and it's like this big dramatic, like, oh my god, that just happened. There's
a funeral scene.
Yeah, there's a funeral scene. Postmaster P lost his best friend. How is he gonna ever recover from this? It's like,
oh god.
Yeah, but the Leprechaun was literally cutting jokes right before he pulled the trigger. Like, how am I supposed to take this seriously?
It's really like, the thing is like a Straight Out of Compton meets Leprechaun movie. That works. That could work.
The concept works, yes.
The concept works. It's just that you have to mitigate the tone better than this movie does.
Yes.
Like, it's so, like, I am not a person, like, there are a lot of movies that I love where people are like, oh, it just gave me tonal whiplash. And 9 times out of 10, I'm like, I don't get that. Like, I think it, like, were there some rocky patches? Yes, but I think overall it blended tone. This is not that movie. Like, this does not even attempt to blend the tones. There's no blending. It is jump cut. We went from Leprechaun smoking a joint with a guy in a public restroom to, oh man, like, I don't know, whatever bullshit drama they're doing in whatever scene that we're on, And then it's forgettable is the problem too. Like, I don't know.
There's a scene where our main characters end up in a church, and they start singing for this church choir, and it's really cringe comedy that they're trying to do, of like, they're like rapping, but they're doing like gospel while they're rapping, and one of the guys keeps saying like the obviously wrong thing to say in a church, but it rhymes with everything else they've said before. But the real standout here for me is, I mentioned it before when I gave the description of the movie and how this movie just doesn't know what it's trying to do, is, like I said, there's a Coolio cameo.
Yeah.
And it's literally the rapping in the church. He walks into the church for some reason, and they're like, oh, it's Coolio. And it cuts back to them rapping, and he just disappears.
Yeah. It just shows him watching them for a couple of minutes, and then nothing else comes of it. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like,
so weird. It's not only like, hey, us as an audience recognize that's Coolio in the background. It's the main characters in this movie call out that is Coolio.
In case we didn't know the very distinct look of Coolio.
Coolio. Very famous rapper Coolio. But they don't even have Leprechaun kill him.
Yeah. Like he does nothing. He doesn't have a line. He literally just shows up. He nods to the terrible beat a little bit. Yeah. And then there's just
he's off to shoot like the Keenan and Kel intro. Like I don't know what he was doing there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I have a funny scene to bring up here.
Okay.
Because I wanted more Coolio. I guess that's what I was trying to get at. I would have rather had Coolio than probably Ice-T in this movie.
Oh God, I love Ice-T.
I like Ice-T in this movie. I would rather had Coolio been like the main character or something. That's at least fair. Part of that group. The rapping.
He should have had a bigger part. Yeah, for sure.
He should have maybe been like, "Hey, you guys are really good. Come audition for me." And then Leprechaun kills him, and they show up and find his body. Type,
yeah.
We already wrote a better Leprechaun in the Hood than
we did
than the actual movie. So a funny scene happens, and we were laughing hysterically at this because it doesn't make any sense, this trap that they set up for the Leprechaun. So they're in this house of I don't know, it's very ambiguous what this character is. If they're a cross-dresser or if they're trans. I don't know what the context of it. It's not the best representation.
No,
no matter which way you put it.
Yeah, it feels very 2000s, feels a little icky.
Yeah.
Is not this movie hasn't aged very well.
It's going for cringe comedy, and it's just cringe, and it's like it's not funny at all. Anyway, they're at this house of this person. I don't know how they know them. I don't know how this group knows them.
Never explained.
They show up at this house. It's implied that Leprechaun and this person are having sex in the bedroom, and all the guys go and hide in the bathroom when they see that the Leprechaun is in the house.
Yeah.
And they're in the bathroom, and they have like this heating pad, and they get some like KY jelly and put it on the heating pad. And as soon as Leprechaun opens the door, they flip on a light switch, and that somehow is connected to the outlet, and it turns it on. Immediately, the Leprechaun bursts into flames.
Yeah.
Like he's been covered in gasoline, and someone shoots a flare at him. Like that's immediately. I don't know the science behind that, but I don't think that's how a heating pad and
I know
KY jelly works.
You could put something flammable on a heating pad and turn it on, and you'd probably,
we might have to experiment.
I haven't done this, but I'm guessing you probably have to wait a while before anything actually happens.
I don't think anything would. I don't think anything would.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really funny though. We were laughing our asses off.
We should Mythbusters this and see if it actually works.
Should. It'd be good content for the talk, man.
Yeah. We get a heating pad and see how long it takes to
light it on fire with some KY jelly and whatever else they put on it.
That's all they put on it.
You think? And yeah, that was all that was, wasn't it? It's terrible. It's such a dumb trap. Can we go back to the very beginning real quick? Because you were talking about scenes that made me laugh. And I love the opening to this movie. The opening scene where Ice-T
it's what you think the movie's going to be.
Yeah, it sets up the movie perfectly and then just does a different movie after that. Yeah. It's so weird. But like, Ice-T's got the fro, like you mentioned in the intro. And the Leprechaun comes to life after he steals the medallion off of him. And Ice-T just keeps pulling things out of his fro like a giant bat, like weapons. It's so funny. And the whole thing is just, that whole opening scene is just comedy gold that had me rolling. Ice-T he's way funnier in this than he has any right to be.
Yeah. Yeah, he's delivering something here that the movie doesn't have on the page, that's for sure.
Yeah, him and Warwick know what movie they're in. Yeah. No one else does.
Here's another positive before I give a weird trivia fact in this movie. Because I want to talk about Warwick Davis in both of these movies, and I guess the entire franchise. He's so good in this role. He knocks it out of the park every single time. it's just a shame that none of these movies are as good as he is as Leprechaun. And that's the thing that people think of obviously the most is like the Leprechaun, the little demon bastard who always wants his gold. And you think of Warwick Davis in that makeup, and he's incredible at it. He knows exactly what these movies are. He's always having a blast whenever he's on the screen.
Oh, absolutely.
But it sucks that these movies are just not up to his level.
Yeah, I agree.
But the funny piece of trivia I found, I don't know if this is true, I just thought it was really funny, is that filming was halted during the shooting of Leprechaun in the Hood because Warwick Davis was suffering from chronic flatulence.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
It sounds so unrealistic that that's actually what happened. But
as someone who has dealt with chronic flatulence before, true story, I have. It happens. It's weird.
I guess the audio guy is going to yell at you the entire Warwick. You stop farting during the scene. wait till I yell cut.
I wonder if he still laughed in like his Irish lilt. I don't know.
We should get Warwick on here and ask him if this is true.
We should.
I would never ask him if he ever actually came on the show, but
I would.
Sam will.
I would 100% would. I think it's a great question. If I was Warwick and I got that question, I'd be thrilled.
So yeah. I don't know. Everyone dies except the main character. Well, no, they all die. Like Leprechaun wins. This is the one Leprechaun movie where he actually wins, and it ends with definitely a scene that was supposed to be earlier on in the movie. There's this rap number where he's like turning all the, I think they're like dancers in this club. Into like his like zombie.
He's got his zombie minions. Fly girls or whatever. Yeah.
And they all sing "Lep in the Hood, come to do no good," and that's pretty much all the rap says for about 5 minutes.
Yep. It's fun.
It's fun.
He's actually got better. He's got better flow and rhythm than the three leads do in any of their rapping scenes, which is insane. But yeah. It's there are three scenes to me that stand out in a good way, and it's that opening with Ice-T and the Fro. It is the scene in the bathroom where Warwick is smoking a joint with that guy, and it is the end where he raps.
That's all the things you expect this movie to actually be.
Yeah. Everything in between that is kind of, I've either forgotten it or I was like, ooh, that just wasn't very, very good.
Yeah.
That said, I don't know. I still I can't completely hate any movie with Ice-T and Warwick Davis rapping. So I don't know.
What would you give Leprechaun in the Hood? How many 4-leaf clovers would you give this movie?
I think I only gave it one 4-leaf clover. But you know what? I don't know. I still recommend it. I think it's fun. It's fun. Yeah. It's really fun.
I also gave it just a single 4-leaf clover. It's not one I'm gonna put on again right away. I will watch the clips of Warwick Davis rapping.
Yeah. This is just not the one in the franchise that I'm gonna
put on first. Every St. Patty's Day.
Yeah. The next one, on the other hand.
Well, let's get it. Leprechaun Back to the Hood, 2003, Sam's very first adult horror movie.
Adult.
that terrified him. Leprechaun Back to the Hood. So, like I said, 2003, another straight-to-video movie. Technically a sequel to In the Hood, but it's kind of a standalone.
Yeah, it really
doesn't tie to any of them really.
No, none of the characters come back. The only person that's back is Warwick.
Yeah, and the movie opens with this, arguably the best part of this movie, this incredible animation sequence that gives more backstory to the Leprechaun character than all the other movies combined on who he is and why he's a bastard. And it's basically that leprechauns were on Earth to protect the gold from bad people that would abuse it.
Yep.
But there was an evil leprechaun that stayed back on Earth and kept the gold for himself and became an evil leprechaun. And that's our backstory for this. For this leprechaun. They're still all magical beings. He doesn't hardly use any magic in this movie. He has a brand new getup. He has different makeup.
Yeah.
He doesn't wear like your green and gold.
He's got like a weird
cartoon
poncho.
He looks like Jack the Ripper almost. It's like Jack the Ripper leprechaun. He has a black hat that he wears. It's like almost like a cape that he has, an all black cape. It's pretty much a black and brown suit that he's wearing too. Yeah. It's a great look. He looks incredible. And I understand why you would be terrified of this leprechaun. He has an incredible look, arguably the best look of the leprechaun in this series. I think it's a great change of pace for the franchise.
He's really he's kind of terrifying in this.
He is.
The scene where he gets out of the car, the scene that got me. Well, there are two. There's the jaw ripping. That one just whoof. That one freaked me out. But it's also the cop leg coming out of the car and then tipping over, which is really funny.
It's really funny.
Man, when I was a kid, I was like, oh my God.
Or there's a jump scare where he jumps out of the shower at the.
Oh God, yeah, that one's good too. Yeah, there's some genuinely creepy and unnerving moments from him in this movie, which I really appreciate. But it also leans into the zaniness of the premise that the first one just did not. It still has some of the same issues where sometimes it's trying to take itself a little too seriously. But overall, I think this one leans further into the comedy and is better for it.
Yeah. So the plot of this one is a group of very selfish people who you do not want to root for at all find the leprechaun's chest of gold coins, and they visit a psychic who warns them of their incoming fortunes, but to be wary of what comes along with those. It's the monkey paw story. It's what this movie is. And when they find these coins, that somehow awakens Leprechaun that he just knows someone has his coins and he has to get them.
Yep.
That's kind of the plot of this movie.
That's as simple as it needs to be. The flute thing was weird. And anytime the Leprechaun movies try and do more than just, people took his gold and he's after that, it just doesn't work as well. Yeah.
It's like Jason Voorhees. If it goes past people are at his camp and he needs to kill them because they're at his camp. Yeah. We get a little too messy.
Yeah. As much as I love some of the later installments, it just, I don't know.
Why does he get on a boat?
Yeah, why does he get on a boat? Why is he in space? Yeah. And I love the space one I love Jason X, but it's not good,
Even Leprechaun in Space is about someone taking his gold, but in space.
Yeah. The movie's insane. I need to rewatch that one.
No, you don't. We'll talk about it later. But this movie, so I find both of these movies interesting. I don't think either one is very good in the Hoods. I think they both have very similar problems.
Yeah.
This one less egregious than the last one.
Yep.
I do find that the characters are just super boring.
Yeah.
And not likable at all.
Yeah.
Especially in this one.
Yeah, because their only thing is they want gold and riches and fame and success, and they're all just kind of super shallow and petty
from the get-go. Even
yeah, exactly. There's no real redeeming qualities to any of them, mm-hmm. or qualities in general.
Yeah, no, it's one of them wants to get a new car. One of them wants to go to beauty school?
Beauty school. One of them wants to have a gold tooth for some reason.
Yeah. I don't know what the one guy wants.
A car, maybe?
The dude who wears the tiny little silver helmet that looks like a dork.
Oh yeah.
On his motorcycle. I don't know what he wants. It doesn't even define, I don't think, what he wants. And then you have the guy from the Meg who needs to pay off debts and buy a bunch of weed.
Who is the best human character, and it's just because it's Paige Kennedy just like being goofy. There's like one scene where they just let the camera roll on him smoking weed, and he's just making faces at the camera. And it's some of the best parts of the whole movie. It's pretty great. He's like, there's like a dog involved, right? He's like making faces at the dog or something. Yeah. Paige Kennedy's really funny in this movie. I imagine that him and Warwick had a pretty good time on set. Because they just, I don't know, even in their scenes together, they just seem to have really good chemistry.
Yeah, and this one leans more into what you expect from like a movie called Leprechaun Back to the Hood.
Yeah.
There's an entire sequence where he kills a guy with a bong, and it's like, that's what I've been expecting from these last two movies. I'm glad they finally deliver. It's only like one scene though, and it's with like not a main character. Yeah,
but it's got that great, like, I love when they discover him and like the whole water bowl has filled up with blood. And I love the sequence afterwards where like the leprechaun is stoned as hell in the kitchen while Paige Kennedy's making a sandwich and he's just like getting hit with the door. It's just a great bit of slapstick that just like, you can totally tell that they were having fun doing this movie. And I think that's what shows through on this one is like, there were glimpses of like, oh, we're having fun doing this movie in the Hood. But this is the one where at least for me, it at least feels like throughout it, the fun is coming through on the screen a little bit more, you know?
Yeah. When they're allowed to have some fun, you can definitely feel it.
Yeah.
It's just, there's like relationship drama in this and it's so like, you just don't care, and it's so boring, and I don't know, it doesn't even go anywhere by the end of the movie, really.
No,
it's just kind of
it literally, it's just there to add some human drama between the kills, but it's just not needed, and it's not.
I don't go to a Leprechaun movie looking for human drama. That's not what I'm looking for in these movies.
Like, they need to. The thing with the Leprechaun movies is they need to make them a little worse for them to be better.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, they need to stop trying to make them good and just allow them to revel in the badness. That's why Friday the 13th was so massively successful, because like, you know, it's going to be a certain level of quality when you go into a Friday the 13th movie, right? Like, camp counselors are going to show up somewhere. They're going to die. That's it. That's the premise.
The movie,
There's nothing else. And I don't know. I feel like Leprechaun could, as a franchise, could just learn from that.
Yeah, if we ever get more, I think that's something, they need to just lean in towards. And I think Leprechaun Returns does a pretty good job of that. I think Leprechaun 3 might be the best example in the franchise of, hey, we're just going to tell this story. Someone's taken his gold, and Leprechaun along the way has to trace where that gold is and find it.
Well, it's a perfect setting because it's Vegas, so his gold gets spread everywhere, and you just have all these characters that have these little quirks and these Vegas eccentrics, like, whatever. And he's going through killing them, and it's kind of like, it's kind of the perfect Leprechaun movie because of that, because it's just that simple premise and nothing else.
Yeah, and that one, I watched it before this because I had never seen it before, and we'll talk about it when we get to our doobie doing.
Yeah,
but in that one, he has this like weapon, and it's like this, it's like a stick with like a ball, like a rock at the end of it that he used to kill people.
Yeah,
and that's something I think most of the rest of the franchise is missing. Is like, he should have a signature weapon like that.
He should.
And this is maybe the most egregious one, is Back to the Hood, where he, like, I think every kill besides the bong one is with his hands. like sticking his hands through someone or strangling them.
Yep.
And it's like
or ripping a dude's leg off.
Yeah. There's no weapon involved.
Yeah.
And I just feel like there needs to be a weapon involved with a character like the Leprechaun.
It makes because like he's considered a slasher icon, but really he doesn't slash all that much.
No.
If at all. Like
he uses his undefined magical ability.
Yeah. It's these movies are what they are.
They are what they are. There's a scene I want to point out in Back to the Hood that probably should have just been cut, I think, from the rest of the movie. There's a scene where this white guy goes to buy some weed from
oh god. From my ninja scene.
My ninja scene.
Yeah.
And they throughout the movie for some reason like want to make ninja, like calling your friends ninja a thing instead of the other term.
Yeah.
And there's a part where one of the white guys who's buying weed from them says the other word. And it's just so awkward and like unnecessary.
It's really bad.
I don't know what the point of it was. I know it was played for laughs, but it's just not funny.
It feels like a scene that was definitely written by a white dude,
Oh yeah.
And that's one of my other issues with both of these is like it definitely feels like they were written and directed by white dudes because they were.
Yeah.
And it's just oof. Oh, I don't know. It's there are just certain things that maybe are better suited for other people to tackle. And this is one of them.
I'll save that question for after. I think we're wrapping this up on these movies.
Yeah.
There's not much to break down in the Leprechaun movie. Surprise, surprise. The one piece of trivia I have on Back to the Hood is around this time, another movie you mentioned earlier that you watched at that sleepover was Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah.
Do you know who Leprechaun was pitched to fight in a Versus movie right around this same time?
I have heard of this, but I do not remember. Was it Michael Myers?
It was Candyman.
Candyman, that's right.
And Tony Todd said, "Hell no."
Good
for you.
Todd.
Good for you.
Good for Tony Todd. I would not like that. That doesn't work.
What does work? I know I've pitched you my crossover, and I thought that was pretty good.
Didn't we do a whole Slash-Lot episode on Leprechaun crossovers?
Yeah, on one of our old podcasts, we did a whole like Leprechaun crossover. I don't remember what yours was.
I honestly don't either. Was it Leprechaun versus Chucky?
I don't remember. It might have been.
Maybe.
But mine was Leprechaun. It was like trying to remember what I called it. It was like St. Patty's Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
And it was Leprechaun versus Ash.
Yep.
And basically Ash like resurrects Leprechaun, reading from the Necronomicon that there's a leprechaun passage in there.
Yep.
And I think that's the crossover I would still want now. Is I think those two crossover
works
very well. Yeah.
Yeah. Candyman versus Leprechaun would be a tragedy. Yeah. That just
doesn't cross over. Yeah.
Candyman is so wildly different and deals with such like
especially looking
things.
Yes, looking at how they handled these in the Hood movies and how they would handle Candyman in that situation. No thanks.
Yep. I'm sure that would have been ill-advised very much.
All right, Sam, what would you give Leprechaun Back to the Hood? How many 4-leaf clovers would you give this?
Gave it 2.5 4-leaf clovers. It was funny when I went to log it. I had only logged this one on Letterboxd one other time, and I had given it like 1.5. And I was like, "Oh, that seems like way too low for how much fun I have with this movie." So 2.5 for me. This is okay. It's an okay movie. It's extremely nostalgic for me, obviously, for the reasons I've stated. But it's not a must watch unless you really like the Leprechaun movies like we do. So, what about you?
Yeah, we gave the exact same ratings on both of these movies without conferring with each other what the other person gave. Yeah, 2.5 4-leaf clovers for me. It's one I would rewatch just because I think it's so different than the rest of the series, just in terms of how Warwick Davis as Leprechaun looks and acts. It's very different. That opening sequence is incredible. I wish that had its own movie. I think setting Leprechaun in like the 1500s or something like that that might be the route they should go for this franchise going forward.
That would be awesome. That animated intro is just it's incredible, and it's very
arguably the best thing
in
the franchise.
Yeah. It's just it sets a tone that I don't necessarily think, much like the Leprechaun in the Hood opening. I don't feel like the movie after the animated opening delivers on any of that tone.
Yeah.
But it's still like on its own a very good sequence and just really cool to see. So
before we move on, we have Matt Petty, friend of the show, also Leprechaun franchise fan, chiming in here with a couple comments. Matt says, love the suit in this one. Yeah, I think it's the best of the series. And then Matt also says, Returns is in my top 3.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'd say my top 3 is probably 2, 3, and Returns.
Yeah.
I think those are my favorites.
Yeah. I might swap the first one instead of the second one, but 3 Returns and the first one might be my top 3.
I really like 2. There's something about 2 that just like, I don't know. I think it's a slightly better version of the first one, but
it's a far sleazier version of the first one.
Yeah, it is.
It's easily the sleaziest of the series.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely agreed.
Yeah. All right. Well, that has been our discussion on Leprechaun in the Hood and Back to the Hood. Let's move on to our next segment. Sam, what is that next segment?
Casey, our next segment is, what are you doobie doing?
What am I doobie doing? I should pull up my my notes here so I can actually say what I've been doobie doing.
I'm pretty excited for one of these movies on your what are you doobie doing? I'm interested to hear your thoughts, and I can't wait to watch this one.
Interesting. So I'll start off with I watched 2 other Leprechaun movies alongside Leprechaun in the Hood and Back to the Hood. I watched Leprechaun 3 and Leprechaun 4. Leprechaun 3, like I said, it's the one in Vegas. I think it, alongside Returns, was probably be like my 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Flip-flop, whichever ones you want. It doesn't matter to me. The Vegas setting is perfect for this series. Again, it's what the franchise is all about, of greed and how the money can go to your head.
Yeah.
I think that it has maybe the most fun with the Leprechaun premise. The magic he uses, and like, hey, every time someone has this one coin of his, they can make a wish.
Yeah.
But that wish is just going to backfire on you.
Oh, it's so monkey's paw.
And it's so funny. Yeah.
Caroline Williams has. So I rewatched this too in the last few weeks. And yeah, Caroline Williams' death sequence in this is the best.
Yeah.
Like, it's so gross and disgusting, but so funny. Like,
she gets like all these prosthetics put on all over her face and butt and body, and then just explodes.
Yeah. She gets like obviously bigger in the boobs and the butt, and her lips fill out and all this, and then they just keep going. It's just
explode.
Yeah, just a gnarly practical effect. She can't like fit out of her dressing room door. She's trying to run away. Like, it's fun. It's such a fun sequence.
Yeah. This movie's like it's an R-rated version of a Disney Channel original movie that I'm a big fan of, Luck of the Irish. It's just an R-rated version of someone becoming a leprechaun with a terrible accent.
God, it really does have that. It's kind of funny. It does have a little bit of that like Disney Channel tone to it too.
It does. Yeah. Perfect double feature right there. That would be a fun one. Leprechaun 3 and Luck of the Irish.
Yeah.
Leprechaun 4, Leprechaun in Space. This one's terrible. It's
Leprechaun gets peed on.
He gets peed on, and that's how he's resurrected. There's like this cyborg who's doing it's the worst character of this series. It is so cringe, and it's like I want to turn the movie off. Cringe of this character. It's so bad. Yeah. Warwick Davis isn't given much to do. He doesn't even rhyme in this one. In Space, like that's what he does in all these movies. That's the Leprechaun. He gives shitty rhymes, and he doesn't do that in Leprechaun in Space. He turns into a giant at some point in the movie. I gave it 1 star. Miguel Nunez Jr. is in it. You get the Miguel Nunez 1-star bump on that. Terrible movie. Speaking of movies we talked about recently, Wishmaster. I watched it because last week you talked about it. I finally had a chance to at least watch the first Wishmaster. I didn't like it as much as you did. I thought it was okay.
Yeah,
I think the practical effects are incredible, but the story is just not.
It's rough. Yeah. It's definitely more of a practical effects showcase, I'd say, than like a successful movie. But man, those practical effects just like they're really good.
They're really good, and then there's some really bad like computer effects in it. For some reason too.
The Kane Hodder one.
Yeah.
His cameo is fun though. I like it.
It's fun. I'm glad Kane got a cameo. There's so many horror icons in this movie, but
yeah,
I mean it's all right. It's all right. What else did I watch? I watched I don't know if you've ever seen this movie. It's from 1989, directed by the great George P. Cosmatos. This is Leviathan. So it's about this group of like underwater miners who come across this wreckage, and basically they come across like this unknown entity that's inside this bottle of alcohol that they found in there amongst the rubble of the ship, and it's basically becomes Alien or The Thing on a submarine.
Ooh.
It's a ton of fun. It doesn't have. I looked up I looked up reviews of this, and it doesn't have great reviews.
Interesting.
And I don't know, but this movie just like hit me in the right place. Of like, I really liked this movie. I thought it was a ton of fun. The cast is incredible in this. You have Peter Weller is the lead. Daniel Stern, Ernie Hudson. It's a ton of fun. Ernie Hudson's having a blast in this movie. Like I said, it's The Thing and Alien, and then all of a sudden, in like the final 10 minutes, it becomes Jaws, and it's like, why are you giving bad reviews to this? Like, those are 3 of the best movies of all time. Why would you not want all 3 of those concepts put together into one movie?
Yeah, this sounds like nightmare fuel for me. Like, I think I would love this. Yeah.
I highly recommend. I think you'll dig this movie.
Yeah, definitely bumping that one up the watch list a little bit, because I think
rules. It's on HBO, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, cool. Cool.
I think the movie you were talking about earlier to hear my thoughts on was from last year. Just hit Shudder recently. Is Satanic Hispanics, which is a anthology horror film from a bunch of Latino directors, most notably Eduardo Sanchez, who co-directed Blair Witch Project. He did a segment in VHS 2. Gigi Saul Guerrero also directed a segment in this. I believe she did one in, I'm not going to get the VHS right, 94 maybe?
I think it's 85.
Maybe 85. I don't know.
It's the newest one.
Yeah, 85. When they started putting the years in the same decades, I got confused.
Yep, same.
But yeah, this, like any other horror anthology, there's some segments that are better than others. You can tell this was made on a pretty low budget. The wraparound segment is pretty much two cops interrogating, hey, Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite, who makes another appearance on our podcast. We talked about him in Tammy and the T-Rex, I think, last time. He's really good in this. Efren Ramirez is really good in this. He's the main character, and he's basically like this like he's like a time traveler. He's like an immortal who has gone through these different lives and tells like all these different stories of people he's encountered in his lifetime. And yeah, I mean, it's a mixed bag, but I think with that mixed bag, you kind of get like every genre of horror in this one movie.
Okay.
Because there's like a supernatural one. That's the first segment. You get a comedy segment with one of them. I'll talk about in a second because that's my favorite one. There's like a folk horror cult one. There's a splatter film one. There's a sci-fi segment. So you kind of get like every type of horror movie in this. It's a little bit of a whiplash to get used to that, but once you get into the segments, they're pretty fun.
Okay.
And my favorite segment is from Jonah Ray, who's the lead in this, and we talked about him in
Destroy All Neighbors.
Neighbors, yeah. And he has the funniest segment in this. He's so good as the leading man in this. It's called The Hammer of Zanzibar.
Oh my God! So this is one that they. So I listened to a lot of podcasts with filmmakers from this movie.
Yeah,
and that is the short that everybody talked about just being wild.
It's wild. I loved it. It was my favorite segment. It's the last segment of the movie. It's so good. The wraparound has a really fun, like creepy horror ending to all of it. And yeah, I definitely recommend Satanic Hispanics. But again, like any horror anthology, you're going to love some segments more than the others. But there's definitely going to be at least one in there you're going to be like, yeah, I really dug that.
Okay. I'm looking forward to watching that one. It's been on my radar for a while, and so I'm looking forward to actually just like sitting down and watching it. I almost did the other day, but it was late, and it is a longer one. It's close to 2 hours.
It's about 2 hours, yeah.
Yeah, which, anthologies sometimes go that long, but it's like, nah, I don't want to start one, even if it's an anthology. I just feel like that one, I want to just sit down and watch the whole thing.
Yeah. My last one I'll save. Maybe we'll talk about that one last because we both watched that one.
Yeah.
And we can go into that a little bit in depth. But Sam, what about you? What else have you been? Oh, wait, I got one more thing.
Okay.
Where'd I put it? It's somewhere in here. I don't know where it is. Anyway, you go first and I'll find it.
Okay.
I don't know where I put it.
Since the last time that we talked, I've watched Lisa Frankenstein 3 more times.
3 more times?
Well, okay, since the time I saw it in the theater. So I've watched this a total of 4 times. I've only logged in on Letterboxd 3 times because I didn't want to keep getting text messages from people asking me if I was okay. So, yeah. Lisa Frankenstein. So far, favorite movie of the year.
Yeah.
I don't see it moving from that spot anytime soon. It's kind of just become my go-to comfort movie. I love it. I did some rewatches. I rewatched Deep Blue Sea, the first one. Movie's so good. LL Cool J and his head like a shark's fin. God, this movie is incredible. You've seen Deep Blue Sea, the first one.
I have never seen Deep Blue Sea.
Shit, I always forget that. Oh my God, dude. I can't wait to show you Deep Blue Sea sometime. It's insane.
You made me watch Deep Blue Sea 3 first.
I did. I love Deep Blue Sea 3, though. It's a direct-to-video sequel that works. I love it. Yeah, Deep Blue Sea rules. It's so, like... I don't know. It's just like it's the definition of a shark B movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I love it. I will do a whole episode on it sometime probably. So
on Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, on Deep Blue Sea. Maybe the whole Deep Blue Sea trilogy. Maybe I'll make you watch all 3 of them. I rewatched another nostalgic hit, Stay Alive. I just needed some of that mid 2006, like mid 2000s badness, and it delivered it in spades. This movie is so cringe in every way possible, but it captures the gamer culture of like 2006 perfectly. Right on down to the use of some homophobic slurs that haven't aged well. But like, it's just the time, you know, like that's how gamers talk to each other back then, and probably still now. Wouldn't know, not a gamer
Yeah.
anymore.
Probably still do, yeah.
Probably. But yeah, Stay Alive is just it's not good, but it's so much fun. I
Our
really
boy
love
William
it.
Brent Bell.
William Brent Bell, you know, you've got weird ass character names like October and Swink Sylvania, and it's like, who's naming these people? Who's naming them? Like, who names their kids Swink? It's like it's never explained.
That's not even their gamer tag then either.
No, that's like legit. Like their name is Swink. It's Frankie Muniz's name is Swink Sylvania.
That's a good movie character.
It's such a good movie name. Yeah, I was obsessed with this movie back in the day. I still watch it probably about once a year. It's just, I don't know. It's a staple. It's a really crappy, rusty staple. I rewatched Jason Lives Friday the 13th Part 6. It's my favorite. It's my favorite Friday the 13th movie by a mile. And I love this franchise. But yeah, this one is just, it's the Universal Monster one. It literally just plays the Universal Monster storybook beat by beat, and just slasherizes it. And it's great. Already talked about Leprechaun 3. Freeway. I watched Freeway through Joe Bob on the last drive in his Valentine's Day special. It's what he opened with. Have you seen Freeway?
I have not seen Freeway, no.
Okay. Freeway rules, dude. Like it is a sleazy white trash exploitation like send up of Little Red Riding Hood. Reese Witherspoon is just like, she's so shrill and abrasive and just like totally against what you kind of think of Reese Witherspoon now. I loved it. I loved her performance. She's so funny and she's so heartbreaking too. Like this is such a weird movie. It balances tone in a way that is just masterful. And Kiefer Sutherland is good on him for taking this role because he is an irredeemable monster in this movie. Like the things he does in this movie are like, holy crap, how did his career ever bounce back after this? Like, how did he have because like, you just know how casting people, like there are times actors do roles like this and it ruins the rest of their career. This should have been a career ruiner for Kiefer. And I mean that in the best way possible. He pulls it off so well. And it just, Freeway is honestly a movie that I felt like I almost needed to take a shower after I watched it. Like it was so gnarly. Okay. And not in like a gory way, just like in the content and the subject matter it deals with and just the vibe of the whole thing. It's just like, oh God. Yeah, highly recommend it. Highly recommend Joe Bob's presentation of it. It was really fun. Like it's always like great when Joe Bob's presenting a movie because it just kind of gives it a little extra bump, you know? So yeah, highly recommend Freeway. Definitely one of my favorite first time watches so far this year. Really loved it. And then my last one is one that we both watched together. Almost kind of as a palate
Before
cleanser.
We get to that, I found my thing because I want to save our crossover movie for last. Spoilers, best for last. Sorry, this was on my couch. So I talked about the Paranormal Activity series last time.
Yes.
So I finally picked up the Paranormal Activity box set. The Ultimate Chills collection has all the movies inside of it. Everything up to Next of Kin. And the documentary done by friend of the show, Joe Bandelli, Unknown Dimension, is on here as well, which is the only way you can get that documentary on physical media. I think they've released Next of Kin on Blu-ray outside of this box set, but I'm not 100% sure. So that might be the only way to get that movie as well is in this box set. So
I think it is actually
the only way to
I
get
think
it.
that's the only way to get it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
it was on sale on Amazon, so if people are looking, it might still be on sale now. So definitely recommend. It's a pretty awesome box set.
Hell yeah.
And pretty cheap. But let's get to our last little bit here. What is that movie that we've been teasing for the last 10 minutes or so?
So if you watched your podcast feed on Friday, we dropped an interview with director Anthony Cousins about his new movie Frogman, which we watched as a little bit of a palate cleanser after the 2 Leprechaun Hood movies.
Yeah, definitely.
And holy crap, this movie rules, guys. Frogman is incredible.
Frogman Fox.
Yes, Frogman Fox. This is, I mean, it's Blair Witch, but with a frogman cryptid. And it's like most found footage, it's a little bit of a slow burn. It takes a while to get to the big horror moments at the end, but the big horror moments at the end make the journey so worth it. It's so good. The vibes, even in the first half, when you're just kind of learning about these characters and their dynamics, I was just vibing with this movie the entire way through. In our interview with Anthony, we talked a lot about the short films that he had done leading up to Frogman, and how much personal voice he managed to put into that. And I feel like his personal voice is very evident still in his first feature with Frogman.
Yeah.
It very much feels like an Anthony Cousins movie. The character dynamics, the dialogue, it's so quirky and so heartfelt and so funny.
Mm-hmm.
God, this movie it'll be on my top 10 at the end of this year. I almost guarantee it. It was a breath of fresh air. I really liked it. Yeah. I don't know. What did you think of this movie, Casey?
Yeah, so I love Blair Witch Project. It's one of my top 10 favorite horror films of all time. I have an entire right there. Cubicle section in my office that is literally just Blair Witch stuff in it. I love the movie. It's incredible. And watching Frogman feels like a spiritual sequel to the first Blair Witch Project.
Hell yeah.
But it's not like an exact carbon copy of that. It's more of what if Heather and Josh were in a relationship while they were filming Blair Witch Project?
Yeah.
And it's more about them forming a relationship while on this project together, instead of just, I don't know, three randos that go out in the woods and get lost. And the character dynamic in Frogman it's so genuine and human and heartfelt, and that's something we talked to Anthony about in especially every time we get ice cream,
your whole fucking
face explodes. And that is such a deep character story, but also having this very twisted comedic sensibility to it.
Yeah.
And Frogman is no different. And once you get to the end of this movie, where I think Blair Witch, I get people's criticisms. Well, actually, I don't get people's criticisms.
No.
That movie, where they're
Blair Witch
it's boring.
Perfect movie.
It's boring and nothing happens, and you don't even get to see the witch at the end.
That's the scary part.
That's the scary part. But what makes Frogman perfect is that it would be cheesy not to show Frogman.
Yep.
Instead, Anthony's I'm going to show you Frogman, and everything about that lore is true.
Yep.
Everything, even the wildest concepts of it, are true, and I'm going to show it. And no, I'm not going to spoil it what he shows in this, because when Frogman does a certain thing in this movie, I lost my mind watching.
Yeah.
And it's so fun. It is, like you said, Anthony has this very distinct voice in everything he does. And it's getting more distinct in every movie that we've watched of his. And yeah, I think this is no different. This is such a great featured directorial debut. And I can't wait to see what he what he does next. And for people who are like, well, what else is this movie besides like just Blair Witch? The thing that it reminded me of the most, besides Blair Witch, is that there's a segment in one of the VHS movies called I don't think it's called Ratma, but the character of Ratma is in it, and
you mentioned that,
that's the entire vibe of the third act of this movie. So if you love that segment as much as me and the rest of the internet did, Frogman is going to be right up your alley.
There's also a really good body horror element to the last act.
Yeah, the makeup effects are incredible in this movie.
And I mean, if you like go back and watch Anthony's very first short, that is like a gnarly, disgusting Cronenbergian body horror.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice to see him bringing that back into Frogman.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's so good. He's so good at that. He's so good at so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Frogman is just very much a culmination of like the things he's been building towards with his shorts. So I loved this movie. I just thought it was, I don't know. It was so inventive and so fun. And there are images from it that have not left my head since we watched it. And I loved it. I adored this movie. So.
Yeah. So shameless plug, go check out our interview with Anthony talking all about Frogman. There's no spoilers in the interview. We hadn't watched the movie before we did it, so obviously there was nothing for us to spoil or get spoiled by in the interview. But it was just a great chat with a great dude talking about indie film and his feature directorial debut with Frogman that's out on VOD right now. It's on wherever you can rent or buy movies on digital. You can check out the movie. Vudu, YouTube, Apple.
Hell yeah.
All right.
That's it. That's what we've been doing.
That's it. Cool. Well, Sam, let's talk a little bit before we wrap things up here and get to the plugs for our own show. Let's talk about some things coming up that we are going to be doing.
Yes.
Because I think this is the last time where we can talk about some of these things before they actually happen,
right?
Friday, we're going to give a shout out to the Sioux Falls State Theater.
Yes.
Hey, if you liked us talking about Leprechaun in the Hood and Back to the Hood, let's go back to the original with the original Leprechaun playing late night at the State Theater in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We're going to be there watching our boy Warwick Davis terrorize Rachel from Friends.
Yep.
It's going to be a fun time. 10:30 is the start time.
10:30 on March 15th. Yeah.
So if you're listening to this on your podcast feeds, go get your tickets. And if you see us there, say what's up.
Say hi. Tell us why we're wrong about Leprechaun in the Hood and Back to the Hood. Tell us why you love those movies and we suck.
Yeah. If you come up to us and say Lep in the Hood up to do no good, I will give you a special prize. Ooh. What that special prize is, I don't know yet. But if someone comes and
he's probably just going to ask me to hug you, but I'll do it.
Yeah. I'm going to pull a Bad Friends, and you're going to get a 10-second hug from Sam.
With eye contact.
With eye contact, and I will give a backstory on why you're hugging each other. And it's going to be awesome.
I love that. I love that so much.
I guess the other thing coming up here on the Friday after, we have a busy couple weeks for us coming up. Another shout out to another local-ish theater. I believe it's the Fargo Theater in Fargo, North Dakota. The Fargo Film Festival is showing Immaculate, which is the new Sydney Sweeney horror film. Nunsploitation film.
Yeah.
And we're going to be going to Fargo to watch this at the Fargo Film Festival with one of the producers there doing a live Q&A afterwards. Yeah, this is my first time going to Fargo ever. I don't know about you.
Me too. Never been there.
So
it's going to be fun.
If we have any Fargo, North Dakota listeners, shout out to you guys getting Leprechaun and not us in South Dakota for some reason. Also, if you're at the Fargo Film Festival showing of Immaculate and you see our mugs there, come up and say hi to us.
Yeah.
And also say Lep in the Hood, come to do no good, and I will give you a prize there as well.
Which is also just a 10-second eye contact.
It's also a 20-second hug because we're north of South Dakota and you have to add 10 seconds to a hug in North Dakota.
That's true. That's the law.
That's the Dakota law.
Yep.
Do we have anything else? Anything else we need to plug that we have coming up? Nothing. Go check out our podcast.
Not that I can think of.
And stuff.
Our next episode's going to be a fun one, y'all. Our next episode's going to be a really fun one.
Yeah, so let's get to the plugs. Go check out our interview with Anthony Cousins if you're interested in about Frogman. Our next interview dropping next week, Friday. We have Scream King, the one and only Billy Butler, who was in so many horror movies. He was in some of my favorites, like Friday the 13th Part 7, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, Ghoulies 2. He's been the remake of Night of the Living Dead. He's in so many different things. He worked on so many different movies and so many different roles. He helped create The Ginger Dead Man. And we have him on talking about his brand new graphic novel coming out, Terraphilia, which I believe is on Amazon right now. So you can order that. So if you're interested to hear our interview and pre-order that, you can do so as well. But yeah, that whole interview drops next week.
Yep. Oh man, it's a good one, guys. So.
It's a good one. We get an inside scoop on that one.
Yeah, we do. Oh my God.
We
bank so many of those in such quick succession that sometimes I forget,
Sam's going to listen back and be like, oh my God, there was going to be this project was going to happen. What?
Yeah, that actually does happen from time to time where I'm like, God, I forgot we even talked about this.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
That's so cool.
I learned so much from listening to my own podcast. I should give myself a 10-second hug.
I feel like I'm meeting myself for the first time.
Well, Sam, if people want to meet yourself for the first time, where can they do so online?
Well, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Still going to call it Twitter. Sorry, Elon Musk. I
changed the logo. It's still Twitter, though.
Yeah, it's still Twitter. I'm never going to call it that other name. But yeah, just search Screams from the Basement because our handles are slightly different on all of them because we have a long podcast name, y'all. We have to make do with the characters we're given. So just search Screams from the Basement. We're the first thing that'll pop up. So, and you can also find us on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts. If Google Podcasts is still a thing, if it's not, just find us elsewhere.
I don't think it is. I need to change that. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, find us on YouTube. Find us on wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. So
we're there. And also check out our TeePublic store. We just had a big sale this past week, but there is another one coming up, I believe, in 2 weeks. But stay on the lookout on our socials. We always share out whenever our TeePublic store is up on sale. That's when we recommend you guys buying our merch because we're not going to lie. I mean, we make a little margin on every purchase that you guys make on that website, but if you're going to get a deal, you got to get a deal. So that's when we're going to share out our TeePublic store. But yeah, stay on the lookout for our socials.
I only buy our stuff when it's on sale too.
Oh yeah, I do too. Yeah.
So
our margins are just about the same. So you're helping out the podcast either way if you buy it on sale or not. But yeah, we have tons of great merch up on there. We have t-shirts, totes, buttons, mugs, tapestries, pillows. You can kind of get anything your heart desires with our logo or one of Sam's awesome illustrations of zombie versions of ourselves.
Woo!
Cool. I think that's all we got.
That's it. Oh my God, this is the shortest episode we've done in a while.
This is a short one, but that's okay. It's fitting because we were talking about the leprechaun.
Yeah.
Get it? Because he's short.
Because
he's short. Yeah. Anyway,
that's Sam, good. We got to end on that.
give us that sign off.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other and
sweet screams.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.